Hi, I'm happy to speak at this Congress of the Indonesian Diaspora, which has been spearheaded by Ambassador Dino Jalal tirelessly in the last few months. I know many of you have gathered in Los Angeles in the thousands. It's unfortunate that I can't be there. I would have loved to be there with all of you. And I know all of you are celebrating on behalf of more than 150,000 Indonesian diaspora that are spread out all over the world. I want to basically join all of you in celebrating the moment where Indonesia has gotten to be recognized better and bigger than ever. By its sheer economic size, it surpassed the $1 trillion mark last year, and it ranks at 15 or 16 globally. It's a member of the G20, and it's always been able to voice in ways that I know in the past it hasn't been able to do. Indonesia is at a pivotal time in the sense that it has been building more and better brand equity than ever. But I do want to convey two messages. The first relates to the earlier point that I was trying to make, in that if there is an opportune or pivotal time for us to make more of a difference than ever, I think it's now. I know all of you come from different professions, different fields, different backgrounds with all kinds of expertise, and not to mention people who have amassed more wealth than ever. All these are going to be able to be value additive to Indonesia today and Indonesia in the future. Estimates have been made by financial institutions in that our economy is poised to grow to numbers like $4 trillion by the year 2020, or even $9 trillion by the year 2030. It's unthinkable for many of us a few years ago that countries like Indonesia, our country, could be able to reach those sorts of numbers. Now, that possibility is becoming much greater of a probability. But the way to do it forward is not just about numbers. It's really about being able to climb up the value chain, being able to make a difference, being able to create better brand equity, being able to be our own ambassadors of goodwill for the purpose of Indonesia and the nation, and also the economy. We've been blessed with natural resources, and that's, I think, a good thing, and it's given us a great run. But going forward, it's really about being able to witness a Steve Jobs being born in Papua, a Bill Gates being born in Sumatra, or other guys that would have been of prominence that would have been born in Indonesia. It's entirely possible, and it would be even a greater probability if we were to invest in one thing, and that's really education. I always get saddened by the fact that the numbers of students that are studying overseas in the great universities, inclusive of those in the US, Europe, Asia Pacific, or even Australia, have declined somewhat. In my time, not too long ago, I was amongst probably about 15 or 16,000 students, or Indonesian students, that were studying in the US. Now, from what I hear, there's only about 7,000 to 8,000. There is no reason for that number to be 30, 40, or even 50,000. And if it's a question about money, it's all we have today. I mean, we have basically created a much larger fiscal space than ever, to the extent that we could be sending a lot more than the 7,000 or 8,000 people or students that are studying in the US. It's not about our wanting to send people just to the US, but it's about our desire to make sure that Indonesians do get the best of education wherever possible, whether it's the United States, or even Indonesia, or other parts of Asia Pacific, or even European cities and Australian cities. That's something that we've got to take a view on. That's something that we've got to game change. And I think by way of basically mapping out where we want to be by 2020, where we want to be by 2025, where we want to be by 2030, and knowing exactly how many PhDs, scientists, and whatever we want to map out or help map ourselves out to where we want to be in those respective years. I think we can get it. Without game-changing the educational part of the mission and vision, it's going to be a little difficult for us. And you can make a difference. All of you have the great network that I know many Indonesians in Indonesia don't have. And that's something that at least you can contribute. The second point is with respect to the misplaced myth of brain drain. I remember during my days of schooling internationally, including in the US, people used to think that, people that didn't want to come back home to Indonesia were actually causing us a problem back home by not wanting to come home. As such, you get called the brain drain. That's not true, in my view, because I know all of you who probably have not come back in as many years as many people would like to be in Indonesia. It's something that you have been basically creating value for yourselves, your family, friends, and at the end of the day, whatever value that accrues to you in the US, in Europe, in Australia, wherever outside Indonesia, that value proposition will eventually accrue back to Indonesia. And we can always sum up that it will always become a net present value proposition. Continue doing what you've been doing. Continue doing what you're doing, as long as you know that someday, some point in the future, and hopefully not too distant from now, you'll be able to make a difference to Indonesia. Indonesia is readier than ever to accommodate whoever wants to come back to Indonesia. But when it's ready, that's the time when you come back. So again, I want to basically congratulate all of you for gathering in Los Angeles. I wish I could be there, and I wish you every success at the Congress of the Indonesian Diaspora in 2012.